haven't had a chance to talk to you all, but I'm just going to hope that you're here. Obviously, God and Mother Nature love poetry. It's the kind of day that we were hoping to have. I have a dream, actually, that someday when we do poetry on the patio, the quad is just packed with people, and we have these enormous speakers, much bigger than these, and they're booming the poetry out there and kind of bouncing it around in the buildings. And there's T-shirt vendors over there, and there's hot dog vendors, you know. But I think my dream is coming true because they're selling Sweet Martha's cookies, and the mayor is here. You know, I know it's a coincidence, but still, it's my dream. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what Poetry on the Patio is. It was started by the U.S. Poet Laureate Robert Pinsky. He's not the current Poet Laureate, but he was for several years. And poetry, the Favorite Poem Project was designed and developed based on two beliefs that Robert Pinsky had. And the first one was that Americans actually do have favorite poems, poems that mean something specific to them, poems that help them understand the world better and understand each other better. I think I probably would have been, I was maybe suspicious that that was true because we hear a lot about how poetry is kind of a dying form and so forth. But after doing this for the last couple of years, I know that that's true because we have had just outstanding events out here and people coming to read their poems, and they've been wonderful poems. So that was number one, Americans do have favorite poems. And then number two, his belief was that poetry should be read out loud rather than silently. Poetry is like song and needs to be heard in order to be appreciated. And so the Favorite Poem Project began. And really events like this have happened hundreds of times around the country over the last few years. And the rules are simply that you read poems by other people. This is not a time to read our own poems. These are the poems that mean something to us, that were written by other people. And so here we gather again for the third time to do this. I wanted to note there's two firsts today at Poetry on the Patio. And the first is we have a reader who is under 10, and that's the first time that's happened, and we're very, very happy and honored that we do. And that's Abby Morose. She's going to come up in a couple of minutes. Secondly, we're going to, for the first time, have a poem read today in a language other than English. We're going to have a poem read in Portuguese. I'm really looking forward to that. And the reader is Maria Carita Izzo, who works in the library. So I'm looking forward to that as well. What I'm going to ask the readers to do now, I'm not going to introduce each of you. You're going to come up in order, and hopefully you have the agenda here before you. So just come up when your turn comes up, and tell us who you are and what your connection to the university is, and then why the poem is that you're reading is special to you. Do it like this, because I'm going to start out. The poem I'm going to read is by a man named Richard Hugo. He looked like this. I discovered him about 20 years ago, I guess. Sadly, just shortly before he died, and I, in fact, was in Schindler's in downtown Minneapolis reading a New Yorker without paying for it, and a poem of his was in there. And it said at the bottom of the poem that Richard Hugo had just died in the previous week. And it was the first time I'd had this experience where, of sadness, that a writer that I loved was never going to write another thing. And unfortunately, I've had that experience a few more times since then. But he wrote a lot of poems. He was born in Seattle and taught writing at the University of Iowa, but then for the longest time at the University of Montana in Missoula. And he writes a lot about the West, which I also love. So the poem I'm reading is Missoula Softball Tournament. And I dedicate this to Richard Hugo, but also to the miraculous 2001 Minnesota Twins. Missoula Softball Tournament. This summer, most friends out of town, and no wind playing flash and dazzle in the cottonwoods, music of the Clark Fork stale. I've gone back to the old ways of defeat, the softball field, familiar dust and thud, pitcher winging drops and rises, and wives, the beautiful wives in the stands, basic, used, screeching runners home, infants unattended in the dirt. A long triple sails into right center. 2 men on. Shouts from dugout. Go, Ron, go. Life is better run from. Distance to the fence, both foul lines and dead center is displayed. I try to steal the tricky manager's signs. Is hit and run the pulling of the ear? The ump gives pitchers too much low inside. Injustice? Fraud? Ancient problems focus in the heat. Bad hop on routine grounder. Close play missed by the team you want to win. Players from the first game, high on beer, ride players in the field. Their laughter falls short of the wall. Under lights, the moths are momentary stars, and wives, the beautiful wives in the stands, now take the interest they once feigned. Oh, long ago, their marriage just begun, years of helping husbands feel important just begun, the scrimping, the anger brought home evenings from degrading jobs. This poem goes out to them. Is steel of home the touching of the heart? Last pitch, a soft fly, a can of corn, the players say. Routine, like mornings, like the week. They shake hands on the mound. Nice grab on that shot to left. Good game, good game. Dust rotates in their headlight beams. The wives, the beautiful wives, are with their men. Abby Morose is next. Can you reach it without me moving it back here if I bend this over?
I guess. Yeah. Okay. I'm Abby Morose, and I'm here with my mom. She works at St. Thomas, and I like the poem I'm going to read because it's like Shel Silverstein telling everybody, no matter who they are, they can come in and just sit by the fire and listen to stories. Invitation by Shel Silverstein. If you are a dreamer, come in. If you are a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer. If you are a pretender, come sit by my fire, for we have some fox golden tales to spin. Come in, come in.
Hi, I'm Lisa Burke-Marose from Computing Services, and more importantly, I'm Abby's mother, as well as the mother of her older sister Hannah and younger brother Josh. One of my favorite writers is Margaret Atwood, and the poem I'm going to read, while I can't necessarily say it's my very favorite poem, it speaks to something that's been on my mind a lot lately, the idea of being both parent and child. So the title of this poem is Bored. All those times I was bored out of my mind, holding the log while he sawed it, holding the string while he measured boards, distances between things, or pounded stakes into the ground for rows and rows of lettuces and beets, which I then, bored, weeded, or sat in the back of the car, or sat still in boats, sat, while at the prow, stern, wheel he drove, steered, paddled. It wasn't even boredom. It was looking hard and up close at the small details. Myopia, the worn gunnels, the intricate twill of the seat cover, the acid crumbs of loam, the granular pink rock, its igneous veins, the sea fans of dry moss, the blackish and then the graying bristles on the back of his neck. Sometimes he would whistle, sometimes I would, the boring rhythm of doing things over and over, carrying the wood, drawing the dishes. Such minutia. It's what the animals spend most of their time at, ferrying the sand, grain by grain, from their tunnels, shuffling the leaves in their burrows. He pointed such things out, and I would look at the world texture of a square finger, earth under the nail. Why do I remember it as sunnier all the time then, although it is more often rained, and more bird song? I could hardly wait to get the hell out of there to anywhere else. Perhaps, though, boredom is happier. It is for dogs or groundhogs. Now I wouldn't be bored. Now I would know too much. Now I would know.
Hi, I'm Gayle Lamb, and I'm the Cash Operations Manager for Food Service. And a lot of you probably know me, and I probably know you by face, but maybe not by name. Since we've jumped into summer instantly, I have a couple of poems here from a collection that is done between 4th graders and 5th graders, and it's called A Celebration of Young Poets, and it's published every spring. And the poems I'm going to read are the first one's from a 6th grader from Shorewood, Wisconsin. Let me kind of get my props set up here. Now you have to think, now we've transitioned from snow to color. We've transitioned from snow to grass. So we go to a blade of grass. Light green slide plummeting through space, towering trees thin but strong, providing shade for every tiny creature, a fairy's master bed, leprechaun's home, the unknown secret hiding place, world's largest playground, where ladybugs tan in the soft warm sun, a cricket stage for performing a beetle's midday snack, taste the bitter sweetness, a flesh-providing sunscreen for ants. There are thousands all around us, but most people can't see how important a simple blade of grass can be. So that's from Sarah Radtke in Shorewood, Wisconsin. Then, once you have grass always, then instantly there's dandelions. And this is as close as I could get to my dandelion. A dandelion is as yellow as a fresh-picked banana from a tropical forest, a canary singing its glorious song, the bright-colored leaves jutting out of the autumn tree, and a dazzling butterfly blending in with the flowers. A dandelion is yellow like the sun on a scorching day, a star that twinkles brightly in the picturesque galaxy, a ripe pear from the home garden, and a piece of candy waiting for someone to taste it. A dandelion is yellow. And this is by Nicole Tischer from Onalaska, Wisconsin, 6th grade.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carita, Izzo, and I'm an international student from Brazil, and I work here at the library. So the reason I chose this poem from Madre Teresa is because I share, and I have not at the same level as she did, the same passion for life and the same care for people's life. So I hope you can enjoy it. And the name of the poem is Vida. A vida é uma oportunidade, aproveite-a. A vida é beleza, admira-a. A vida é beatificação, saboreia-a. A vida é um desafio, enfrenta-o. A vida é um dever, cumpre-o. A vida é um jogo, joga-o. A vida é preciosa, cuida-a. A vida é riqueza, conserva-a. A vida é amor, goza-a. A vida é um mistério, desvela-o. A vida é promessa, cumpre-a. A vida é tristeza, supere-a. A vida é um hino, canta-o. A vida é um combate, aceita-o. A vida é tragédia, domina-a. A vida é aventura, afronta-a. A vida é felicidade, mereça-a. A vida é vida, defenda-a. Muito obrigada. Thank you very much.
My name is David, and I'm a student at St. Thomas. The poem that I'm going to read is by Billy Collins, and the reason I like it is because Billy Collins is able to take simple things, simple objects or moments in life, and he twists them and turns them into acts of reflection, and I really have been enjoying over the last couple months from time to time the way he does that. This one in particular I like because it deals with the death of a loved one, and I think it's a beautiful way to speak of it. It's called The Iron Bridge. I am sitting on a disused iron bridge that was erected in 1902, according to the iron plaque bolted into a beam, the year my mother turned 1. Imagine, a mother in her infancy, and she was a Canadian infant at that, one of the great infants of the province of Ontario. But here I am leaning on the rusted railing, looking at the water below, which is flat and reflective this morning, sky blue and streaked with high clouds. And the more I look at the water, which is like a talking picture, the more I think of 1902, when workmen in shirts and caps riveted this iron bridge together across a thin channel joining 2 lakes where wildflowers blow along the shore now and pairs of swans float in the leafy coves. 1902. My mother was so tiny. She could have fit into one of those oval baskets for holding apples, which her mother could have lined with soft cloth and placed on the kitchen table so she could keep an eye on infant Catherine while she scrubbed potatoes or shelled a bag of peas, the way I keep an eye on that cormorant who just broke the glassy surface and is moving away from me and the iron bridge, swiveling its curious head, slipping out to where the sun rakes the water and filters through the trees that crowd the shore. And now he dives, disappears below the surface, and while I wait for him to pop up, I picture him flying underwater with his strange wings. As I picture you, my tiny mother, who disappeared last year, flying somewhere with your strange wings, your wide eyes, and your heavy wet dress, kicking deeper down into a lake with no end or name, some boundless province of water.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ed Edmonds, and I'm a director of the law library. And at one point I wondered whether maybe I was invited to see if there was any possibility that a lawyer could actually have any appreciation for poetry or actually read poetry. I must admit that the law side of me has meant that I haven't read much poetry in recent years, so it caused me to kind of go back and look at some things. And actually, this is one of my second choices since Janet is actually going to read something in a few minutes from Frost that I actually had a little bit of a story about. But I picked to read E.E. Cummings, and I think this is kind of in following what Dan said. This is kind of a short poem, but this is one that's definitely meant to be, I think, read out loud. And so, and I think the one thing about this particular poem from Cummings, written about a flamboyant character, is that when everything is all said and done, there's at least one truth that I know of, and that is that everybody dies and goes before their maker. And so we'll read what is E. Cummings' Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bill's defunct, who used to ride a water-smooth silver stallion and break 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pigeons just like that. Jesus, he was a handsome man. And what I want to know is, how do you like your blue-eyed boy, Mr. Death?
Hi, I'm Carol Felton. I've been working at the University of St. Thomas for just over 12 years now, and I am currently the Assistant Director of the Division of Sciences and Mathematics. I just want to explain to you briefly why I have an emotional attachment to the poem that I'm going to read. My father was a collector of Native American art, and he had a strong interest in the history of the southwestern United States. When he first discovered this poem, he shared it with my youngest daughter, who is a poet. She read the poem at his funeral. Last June, on a hot day, when I was walking in the Red Rock State Park in Arizona, a place where my father visited often, we stopped in the courtyard of the Apache House of Fires, and the naturalist said she would like to recite a poem that she felt had particular beauty and meaning for that spot. She began the poem. It was this poem, and it was the day of the anniversary of my father's death. The poem is a Hopi prayer, and the author is unknown. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on the ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. When you awaken in the morning hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Thank you. The next reader is Susan Alexander.
Hello. I've been at St. Thomas for almost 20 years now as a member of the economics department. It says sociology in the program. I'm under false pretenses. And right now I'm in the administration for a brief time at least. Okay. This poem was important to me when I was a college student. It was one that when times were difficult with things that I thought of as important successes or failures at the time, I would come back to and be reminded of the transitory and unimportant nature of most of the things that I was thinking about. So, Ozymandias by Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which survive yet, stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." And the next reader is Janet Sands.
I also felt like rather a fraud when I received this email. I thought, this isn't for me. I haven't read a poem in 40 years, except for the New Yorker magazine, which I love. I read their poems. But I work in auxiliary services. I've worked here 17 years, and I'm going to be retiring June 30th. So I thought, I went through and I thought, I remember this poem, and let's see if I can find it. And sure enough, no problem. The road not taken. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubt if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Robert Frost. And we have William Bamfield coming up next.
Julie, is Bill Banfield coming? A few numbers. Bill Banfield's on his way. Help yourself to a cookie and some lemonade maybe while we're waiting.
Good afternoon. Am I really the last person? You should know that I did inform our presenters that I would be the last person. So this is an appropriate late show up, not a late show up. You mean I get to close the program with Langston Hughes? St. Thomas is all right. Do you know that? Good afternoon. I have been familiar with Langston Hughes just as a kind of growing up, and most recently was granted permission by the estate to set an opera. It is a 1937 piece by Langston Hughes. If you know, Langston Hughes is a great American poet, and he happens to be a great American poet who happens to be black as well, and is writing about every aspect of American and black experience. For we musicians, Langston Hughes' language is very much based in the vernacular. So when I was commissioned to do this opera, I asked if I could do this 1937 piece called Soul Gone Home, which is a fabulous piece. And so I've been kind of into the world of Langston Hughes, but there was a piece that he did called The Weary Blues that really excited me this year. I want to share it. I don't know how long or how short the other poems have been. This isn't too long. It's about a page and a half here. But it's got a certain bite and rhythm on it that makes it quite wonderful to accompany blues. So I wish the guitar player, is there a guitar player here? Hey, do you feel comfortable doing just a Bob Dylan or any folky kinds of blues? And we want to get the right flavor here. Langston would like it that way, you know. Now, this is about a piano-playing man, but we'll just imagine guitar-playing guys right now. Oh, this is fun. Yeah. Langston would really like this, you all. The Weary Blues. The Weary Blues. Drowning a drowsy syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon, I heard a Negro play. Down on Lenox Avenue the other night by the pale Del Parlor and an old gaslight, he did a lazy sway to the tune, Oh Those Weary Blues. With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody, oh blues. Swaying to and fro on his rickety stool, he played that sad, raggy tune like a musician fool, sweet blues. Coming from a black man's soul, oh, sweet blues. In a deep song voice with a melancholy tone, I heard that Negro sing that old piano moan. Ain't got nobody in this world, ain't got nobody but myself, is going to quit my frowning and put my troubles on the shelf. Thump, thump, thump went his foot on the floor. He played a few chords, then he sang some more. I got the weary blues and I can't be satisfied. I got the weary blues and I can't be satisfied. I ain't happy no more and I wish that I had died. And far into the night he crooned that tune. The stars went out, and so did the moon. The singer stopped playing and went to bed, while the weary blues echoed through his head. He slept like a rock, or a man that's dead. Yeah, thank you very, very much.
You know, I was thinking, our poetry reading is kind of like a potluck meal where you don't know if you're going to get all salads or hopefully you'll get all desserts, but usually it works out just fine, and we never know we don't tell people what to read or how long, we don't ask them how long they're going to be reading. So we're actually done a little bit early today. So I guess I'll thank everybody, especially Julie Kimlinger who organized this event. Lisa Dochniak helped set it up as well. Especially want to thank the readers. And I want to thank all the people that came to listen. If you came to listen this year and want to read next year, start thinking right now about what that poem will be, because we'll be back here next April. Thanks very much.